Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday, and so as you know, we're going to talk all about parenting. It is challenging, it is frustrating, but we've got answers for you here at the News at 4. We've teamed up with Nicole Tetreault for Kids Under Construction. She joins us every Monday and Friday from her home in LA, but today we're lucky again to have Donna's sister, Dr. Nicole Tetreault. She's a neuroscientist, author, and mom, and today we're going to talk about anxiety and the brain, ladies. So let's get right to it. What happens in the brain of a person struggling with anxiety?
Yeah, so really what happens is a person kind of goes into four modes where they're kind of hijacked into an emotional brain, and they either go into fight, flight, freeze, or flop. And it can really cause debilitating effects where either somebody kind of pushes and overworks and is over focused, or very active, or kind of flat on their back and frozen.
Nicole, with children especially, anxiety is rising. We know that. What are some signs that children are facing anxiety, and what can we do about it as parents?
Yeah, so for children and adults, but specifically, you'd see kind of alterations in their mood, where they could be a little bit more agitated. They could kind of be afraid to do things, kind of freezing up. And mentally, it could even lead into levels of depression. On the other hand, their bodily kind of responses kind of turn out where they have stomach aches, headaches. They could even have, be lethargic. And on top of it, have alterations in their sleep patterns where they can have difficulty sleeping, or alternatively sleep too much. And sometimes some of these kids even show issues with stomach and digestion as well.
So much going on in those little bodies. So let's talk about how sensory overload can also feed into anxiety and sometimes be the culprit.
Yeah, so, some children have an enhanced sensory processing and receptivity, and just sensory stimuli can activate the nervous system because it could get to a level where it kind of reaches a level of threshold of pain, where they're in major physical pain. And then that sends the anxiety kind of flooding, anxiety neurochemicals flooding through their body of cortisol, and they're trying to fight off the sensory overload, where they end up becoming detached from their environment and they withdraw.
So Nicole, how can you help a child struggling with anxiety? Is this something that a parent can learn to do on their own? Of course, you have help from doctors and psychologists, but day to day, what can parents do to help their children?
Well, first of all, one thing, like in your book, when you have with Dear Me, how you're having children being able to talk about their emotions and identify it, that's the first step, because that builds the awareness. So if a child can obviously communicate that they're dealing with anxiety, then the parents can help guide the child to define the origin of where the anxiety is arising. Is it a social anxiety of being with too many people? Is it anxiety related to their environment? And is it an anxiety related to meeting deadlines with school? And once you can identify the origin, then you can talk backwards with the child. Other very simple steps are just simply regulating the nervous system through breathing. Often when people go into an anxiety response, they don't breathe and they're doing these shallow breaths. We know when we activate 3 diaphragmatic breaths allow for positive neurochemicals of trust, and kind of releasing oxytocin and vasopressin, where these children kind of allow for a release and calming of their nervous system. And I also advise, really getting to the origin of what the anxiety is, and having the child kind of being able to survey and scale it, so survey what the anxiety is, and then scale it on a 1 to 10 to help them kind of manage and work through it. We also know exercise is, positive endorphins, and as well as just teaching simple mindfulness, like a mindfulness walk, or mindfully walking, watering in your garden. Simple things like that can really tune the child into the present moment.
Oh, Nicole, I love that, especially the science behind breathing and why it's so very important. That's fantastic. Thank you both so much for joining us. Donna, once again, you always bring such great guests, and your sister did not disappoint. A dynamic duo, as I said on Monday. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today with such important information. We do want to remind you that Donna has podcasts that you can get to on our website, abc4.com. Kids Under Construction, in-depth conversations on important topics that parents need to know. You can find it there online at abc4.com. Don and Nicole, thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emily.